Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. I'm smiling ear to ear because the day has finally arrived for the big DJI event in New York, and I could not be more excited. Now, if you're watching the web, you know they just announced two brand new Mavic products, which to my eyes look absolutely amazing. Those engineering wizards at DJI really took the original Mavic product and enhanced it in ways that I think are really important, and I'll get into those in a minute. Before I do, though, it's kind of a weird clip to make here because yesterday in the afternoon, I was lucky enough to get a sneak peek at the product. I got a couple of pictures and some videos and some specifications. So I sat down last night and put together this clip just to give you a basic rundown of what you can expect when the two models of Mavic 2 hit the street. Now, if you're watching the stream, you're going to get a lot of this information live from the event. But for those of you that are working today or don't have the time to watch the stream, I just wanted to put a real quick clip together to give you the bullet points of what you can expect and maybe a little bit of insight into the differences between the two in case you're deciding to buy them. So I'm going to give you a rundown on what you get basically with both of the products, and then I'll talk specifically about the two different models very quickly to give you an idea of what the differences are between them and maybe why you'd want one over the other one. So the two products they released today, which again shouldn't be a shock to anybody out there because there's been a ton of leaks, but they're both Mavic 2 products. There's a Mavic 2 Zoom and a Mavic 2 Pro. And there's slight differences between the two that may matter to you. But basically what they've done is taken the Mavic chassis, the Mavic Pro chassis, and enhanced it in a couple of different ways. The first thing they did was to give you a much longer flight time. So you've got 31 minutes. Now, you may be saying to yourself, it was 27 minutes for the original Mavic Pro. Is that 4 minutes really that big a difference? If I bought the Mavic Platinum, I got close to that. For me, any gain in performance is good. Any length of time I can keep it up in the air is a great thing. And I think they did that by making the quad more efficient. They're using the low noise blades, the high efficiency blades on the new product. So I think all of that contributed to a longer flight time. But for me, I want to keep the thing up in the air as long as possible. So 31 minutes is a good thing. They've increased the distance. So it'll go almost a full 5 miles, which is absolutely incredible to me. The Mavic Pro did 4 miles. That was plenty. The 5 mile gives me a little bit extra distance. But as I've said in other clips, the fact that it'll go that much further means that I've got a much stronger signal in close, and that's due primarily to the OcuSync 2 technology they're using. So it's an upgraded version of OcuSync, which not only gives me better telemetry information and better distance, but it also gives me streaming 1080p video back. Now, it was 720p on the original Mavic. If you owned a Phantom product, you got 1080 streaming video, and let me tell you, that'll spoil you really quick. So having that additional bandwidth and streaming 1080p back means the picture I'm getting is a much crisper picture, and I've got better detail in that picture with less dropouts, which is a wonderful thing. The two things that they're really focused on with this product, and I think they really made a smart choice here, are the intelligence of the quad and the imagery of the quad. Because the reason I put the quad up is to take video or pictures of a beautiful area. So if you can make that better for me, if you can enhance the pictures and videos I'm taking, I'm all in. I want to buy that product. So I'll talk a little bit about sort of how they made it smarter. The first thing they did was put APAS in it. Now, if you guys have gotten the Mavic Air product, you know what APAS is. It's basically a technology that will look in front of the quad, and it'll make sure that if it's flying in a very crowded area, it'll find a path through it, much like a linebacker going through the line in a football game. It knows where all the obstacles are in front of it, and it makes intelligent decisions about how to avoid those and find a clean path through them. That's super important if you're flying this thing in the woods or around a lot of obstacles near you. It'll absolutely keep this thing a lot safer when you're flying. And I'll tell you, that Mavic Air blew me away with how it can navigate between trees in a very heavily wooded area. So the APAS 2.0 is really a major enhancement for that. And again, I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about these features in individual clips down the road, but I wanted to give you a rundown on it. I mentioned before that it's got a brand new active track. I didn't actually mention that, but it's got a brand new active track. And what the active track does, obviously, is you zero in on an object and it'll follow that object around. Now, one of the challenges with the Mavic Pro, the original one, was that following an object is difficult because if you zero in on something and there's other moving objects near it, sometimes, not often, the drone can get a little confused and maybe flip to another object, and that would be a bad thing because if it's a car heading this direction and it locks onto the car, it's going to fly away from you. So the fact that it's much better now with this Active Track 2.0 means that it's intelligent and it can profile something. So when it takes a picture of you and looks at you, it's building sort of a 3D model of you so that if you turn sideways, you duck behind a tree, you go around a curve, it does predictive analysis of where you're going to pop out on the other side. It's just a way better tracking system. And I promise you I'm going to test that extensively. But for me, making sure that it's not going to crash into stuff and that it's going to follow me when I want to, even in crowded conditions, is a really positive thing. They've improved the obstacle avoidance. So you get a full 360, but it's not quite a 360 because it's active in the front, it's active in the back, it's active above and below, but it's got infrared off to the sides. And you guys all know about the infrared to the sides. It only works in certain modes. It's not real good in sunlight, bright sunlight especially, because the LEDs or the infrared doesn't work well. If it's got a lot of sunlight out there, it gets lost. It can't actually read the bounce back from that IR. But for me, the fact that it's got front and back, top and bottom, that's most of the time where I get in trouble. Actually, for me, when I'm backing up is when I get into more trouble than anything else, when I'm trying to do that beautiful pullback shot and I run into a branch behind me. So having that crash avoidance in the front, the back, the top, and the bottom is plenty for me. And honestly, I turn it off most times when I'm flying. But most people out there, especially new flyers, are going to love the fact that it's got this sort of bubble of protection built around it that really makes sure that you've got a very safe device. Another thing I want to talk about is the enhanced HDR. So high dynamic range photos, which some photographers love, some don't love, but what they do basically is give you this expanded dimension for the video that you're taking or the pictures you're taking. It's actually photos they've enhanced it on. So the brighter brights, the darker darks, what happens typically in those environments, if it's really bright or really dark, you lose a lot of detail. What HDR does is take a bunch of pictures or a bunch of images and merges them together to give you the highest possible dynamic range available from that photo. So it's a very cool technology that you see in a lot of the higher end DSLR cameras, and they built that into this product. So just a wonderful product from an improvement perspective. And I know a lot of people will say, well, Rick, are those really enough? I mean, is it really that big a deal? The honest truth is, when this Mavic hit, the Mavic Pro hit, the first one, it was 3 or 4 years ahead of its time. Like, they really built this thing to be such a major change from anything that was on the market at the time. I looked at it and I made the comment, and I still believe it to be true. They have aliens working in their factory someplace, because this thing was so far ahead of what was being built at the time that it just blew me away. So how do I make it that much better? Well, if I'm on that design team, I'm gonna sit down and say, let me improve the intelligence of it to make it a smarter quad, because it's a flying camera, so we wanna make it as easy as possible to use for people. And in addition to that, I wanna improve the quality of the cameras. So you get all the features I just talked about on both the Mavic 2 Zoom and the Mavic 2 Pro. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the difference between them, because I know a lot of people out there are going to say, well, Rick, I want to buy a quad. Which one should I buy? Now, I don't have pricing on these. I haven't had them in my hands yet, but I'm assuming that the Mavic 2 Zoom may be a little less expensive than the Mavic 2 Pro. Let me start with the Zoom. So what the Zoom gives you is everything I've talked about so far. In addition to that, it gives you a zoom, a 4x zoom. Now, it's not a 4x optical zoom, it's a 2x optical and 2x digital zoom, but still, the ability to zero in on something like that with the zoom. I've talked about it before with the Anafi quad. It just changes the game for you, because a lot of times when you're flying, you can't get close to something. You have to kind of stay back, but you want to get a better picture of it. So being able to zoom in means I can be polite and stay away from a particular area, but still get the photo I need, and that's fantastic. The other thing that does for you, which is kind of a cool feature, is this thing called Dolly Zoom. And if you're into cinematography, there's been a lot of movies that use this effect, but basically what it's going to do is bring the quad back at the same time zooming in on an object, and it gives you this like otherworldly kind of a feature for the picture. It sort of blurs the background, it pulls it away. It's like an elastic video. It's a very, very cool feature. So I can see myself using that a lot when I'm putting together videos and, you know, capturing photos with it. So that's pretty cool. Then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the high definition picture. So it does a 48 megapixel high resolution photo. Now, I haven't tested any of this stuff yet, but that just sounds amazing to me. So that zoom sounds like the one to own if you don't own a Mavic already. I don't know if I would upgrade my Mavic Pro for the zoom, although I might, but if you don't have a quad right now, that probably is going to be your easiest way to get into the quad, and probably at the lowest price. The one that's really got me excited is the Mavic 2 Pro, because they've now enhanced it with a 1-inch sensor inside of a cooperative venture between them and Hasselblad. So the engineering teams got together and built this camera inside a Hasselblad housing. So you've got the optics and the control and the variable aperture of a Hasselblad camera with a 1-inch sensor from Sony, and it looks to be just fantastic. And I've said before, the first company that builds a foldable drone with a 1-inch sensor is king of the hill. They're going to own this market for the next year or two, and the fact that they could do it and incorporate the Hasselblad camera, home run for these guys. So I cannot wait to get my hands on that. Now, in addition to the 1-inch sensor, you get a bunch of other stuff. You get, obviously, the Hasselblad camera. I talked about that before, but you get a variable aperture, which is nice. They've also included a 10-bit color depth with the D-Log-M profile, which means when I take that raw footage and take it back into post, I have a lot more flexibility of how I enhance those colors, how I bring in detail, and my sort of contouring, if you will, through the digital image enhancements later on through post. So for me, that 1-inch sensor is going to be a home run. Now, when people ask me which should I buy, obviously it depends on your budget. I don't know what the pricing difference is going to be between them. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the 1-inch sensor was a couple $100 more. If you can afford that 1-inch sensor, buy that 1-inch sensor. If your budget won't support that, or maybe you're just looking to get into quads and you want to start someplace with a Mavic 2, I'd go with the Mavic 2 Zoom. Both of them I think are going to knock your socks off. I think they're both going to be fantastic products. But again, I haven't flown them yet, but I've got a long history of using DJI products, and I love their tech, man. They build this stuff to be rock solid, easy to fly, and really, really durable. So I think both of these are going to be cool. So that's all I really had for today. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I know I'm rambling a little bit because I'm super excited, but I will put clips together from the show tomorrow. We're going to be on the show floor. Actually, I'm on the show floor right now when you're watching this clip. So we're going to do a lot of interviews. We're going to do a lot of video footage. I'm sure there'll be big shots there from every drone channel out there. Maybe Casey will show up. Who knows? iJustine could be there. There could be celebrities in addition to those guys. But I just love the tech. And for me to get to an event like this, get my hands on this new tech, and really evaluate it compared to tech they've got out today and other drones that are in the market is really what gets me out of the bed in the morning. And I know you guys love to hear this kind of stuff. So if you're not a fan of the channel yet and you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel because I'm going to have a ton of details about this technology. And I'm ordering it the minute I can order it. And I hope to have them, very, very quickly. And I'll tear them apart like I do with every clip out there and make sure you get all the details you need about the product. So thanks all for watching. One last thing I'll mention, there is a link below that if you use that link to go buy this quad from DJI or supporting the channel, I would really appreciate you doing that because it just makes things easier for us when I have to travel to these shows or pick up new technology. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just a simple link. You click it and you go buy the quad through that link. It really helps us out and puts us in a really good place with DJI as well because they watch that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's all I've got to say today. Thanks an awful lot for watching. Stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of cool coverage from the show. And again, until next time, happy flying.